Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk Football with Dan and Jesse. We're going to be discussing some of the most recent pre-season games, some big results, some disappointments to some of these teams. So we're just going to be having a little run through, see what our thoughts and feelings are. I'll have to excuse me, I'm in a different room. Front room's having some redecoration done, so you'll have to bear with me. Jesse, how are you, mate?
Good, man. And you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you very much for anyone who's tuned in. Stick your comments in with the live chat. We're going to be discussing. So listen, we're going to get straight into it and probably look at the most entertaining, the most interesting result of all of them. Arsenal fans will be ecstatic with the way that Arsenal have started in pre-season. They'll be absolutely ecstatic. None more so than this result, 4-0 against Chelsea. And there's no excuses now. These boys are up and running. We know it's only pre-season, and we'll hold that energy. But Chelsea shouldn't be getting beaten 4-0 by Arsenal. It's not a good result anyway, which way you look at it. Jesse, what did you make of this match? I didn't get to watch it live. I watched it extended highlights.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, Arsenal looks good. They've had a couple more games. I think this was like their 5th or 6th preseason game, actually. This will have been Chelsea's 2nd. But what I will say, Arsenal look like a cohesive unit. And Chelsea is really the one who, out of all the teams I've seen out of the Big Six from this preseason, and Chelsea, you wouldn't necessarily think that they would be off to a slow start. I mean, there are kind of mitigating circumstances with the new ownership and the sanctions getting released a little bit into the transfer window. They look really weak. But that's not to take away from Arsenal. They look really, really good, cohesive unit, pressing really well. All their signings that are actually playing look really good. So all in all, a very good start from Arsenal, but Chelsea have a lot of work to do.
And I think that's where we'll focus. We'll focus the start of our energy basically on Chelsea. What's going wrong? What happened? Is this Chelsea's fault, or is just Arsenal too good?
I really wanted our actual thing. I guess we're not going to get it. It's a mixture of both. Arsenal were well worth their 4 goals and their W, but Chelsea, see, they just have this issue, and it's the issue that Chelsea fans have been talking about since last season, where they cannot create for their strikers. And right now, they don't really have a striker. Havertz has been subpar. In this game, I'm pretty sure he started on the right. Werner maybe up front, and then Sterling on the left.
Yeah.
Sterling is their shining light, but they're not creating enough chances, and their only real creator is Ziyech, and I don't think Ziyech is good enough at this moment in time for the Premier League specifically.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This is what we were, what we were discussing. We said this in one of our previous shows when Sterling was signed, that we were impressed with Raheem Sterling as a signing, but he's not going to bring the goals that Chelsea desperately need. He's the support act. He is the cannon to someone's ball. He's one member of the Bee Gees. He needs to be bringing in somebody who's going to be the goal scorer, and that club lacks them. And looking at the, I'd say extended highlights, which were a good 30 odd minutes in length, Chelsea created probably 1 or 2 good chances, but they were limited. Like, there was a ball that was fizzed in across in the first half from Reece James, which no one was on the end of, which, you can't fault the effort. But again, it's just, there wasn't really anything there. There wasn't anything there from Chelsea that made me feel like these boys are going to score a lot of goals next season. And this was something that we brought up and we were concerned about. Defensively, I mean, Arsenal, as you say, are cooking at the moment. They're really fit, really working strong, really working well, but they just side through them. They just side through Chelsea's defence. No issues at all. There was no difficulty for these players to get through. The first goal, probably a touch fortunate with the way things were. It was a bit of a gift, to be honest. But at the end of the day, Jesus had to do what he had to go and do. But then the other goals, to be honest with you, they were really good quality. And Arsenal fans, and as Arsenal as a club, they're most certainly now there can be no excuses this season. Top four is an absolute must. They're playing very, very, very well. And that's probably where we good for us to start off on Arsenal's positives. They've churned this team, which is something that Edu said. He made mention to churning the team, and they've got rid of all of these, players who weren't bothered about Arsenal on too much wages, and they weren't kind of putting the right effort into the team. And they've now got a team of young, talented players who all seem very, very hungry. And I'd be very excited if I was an Arsenal fan. I'd be really excited for next season. Europa League, they should absolutely be aiming to win it, 100%. No excuses.
Yeah, I think United and Arsenal should be very confident going into that. I don't think that there's a whole lot of teams that can really contest. Maybe you would say someone like Roma with Mourinho, and you never know who's going to drop down as well. It
just depends on who doesn't do so well in the group. Let's say like a bit of that's a shock. How did they not, how did they get third and maybe go out in goal difference or something, and then they go, right, well, this isn't a sheer embarrassment. But you only go with what you know, and it'd be Arsenal and United should be joint favourites in my opinion.
Yeah, easily. And I mean, Arteta's had 3.5 years now, 400 million quid spent. A lot of good players. He did a lot of good things. I haven't necessarily rated all of these transfers. I mean, there are obvious ones. Tavares, Lukonga's still young. This Matt Turner kid is coming in as a backup. Suarez came in under Arteta, pretty sure. Marquinhos isn't really going to play. Martinelli was already there. He got introduced and brought in by what's his face? Good evening. Why am I blanking on Villarreal? No, what's his name? Who's the manager of Villarreal?
Emery.
Emery, there we go. So he's had some duds, but overall he's cleared out the squad. He has a really happy camp. He has a camp that's all pulling together, lots of good youth, and they're starting to get in a couple more of those players, like your Gabby Jesus's, like your Thomas Partey's, that are experienced heads who can lead this team. And for all the stick I've given Arteta, I'm excited to see what he does this season. But I do think he needs top four or that Europa League. I think that's where they need to be aiming. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'd be no excuses. I mean, they look very strong. They look good. They look like a cohesive unit. Jesus is scoring goals fun at the moment. And we have to hold this energy that everyone needs to hold, which is it's pre-season. Pre-season can mean nothing. It genuinely can mean nothing. There's many occasions where, the teams have done really well in pre-season and it just doesn't seem to correlate across into the Premier League for whatever reason. And these things happen. Not saying that's going to happen to Arsenal or Chelsea's form is going to run into the league. It's not indicative as to how it's going to be. But ultimately, it just is a little bit of a barometer that lets you know where the club is at the moment and says, like, are things working the way you want them to work? And they are. And I actually was, weirdly enough, I was looking going, when are Arsenal back on TV? I was actually interested to watch them, and they're back on Sunday against Sevilla. Got to be an interesting test, that one, because they look really good money for against Tottenham. They look like a strong little unit, and for me, that is going to be a different test. They're a team who's going to try and frustrate Arsenal, so that'll be a different challenge. We all know Chelsea's issues that they had, and we've discussed it on this channel before, that we think Chelsea's problems that go deeper than a lot of Chelsea fans want to admit or even realise, just based on just the quality that they've lost, just the quality of players that they've lost, and the lack of real player who I go, oh, he's going to score goals. Like that worry, like he's the threat.
Yeah, and it's starting to get to a point where I don't think that the squad, I mean, obviously, there are still players there who want to leave, which is a massive issue for the dynamic of any team. And he's making very questionable choices. I think what he should probably be doing is picking his first 11 instead of playing like Batshuayi up top. I think that there's a mixture of players who don't want to be there, players who can't be asked, and then players who are obviously going to be there and be their mainstays next season. My biggest concern is that Tuchel doesn't look happy, and that will reflect through the camp. And I'm very concerned about what Tuchel's getting out of them right now. I don't think it's all Tuchel's fault, but I think it's very clear that the business that he wanted done is not getting done. And that
100%, Jesse. I mean, just chat, let us know. Obviously, put your comments in, let us know what you think about it. I mean, we said about Todd Bowley, I remember going on early and I was actually praising him a little bit, thinking it might be a good idea, for him to get a bit of a feel for, what it actually takes to do a certain role. What qualities am I going to need from someone, to do this role? And he's been so erratic when it comes to the transfer window, to the players that have been approached. And Jules Koundé, it's like Rafinha all over again. Like, it genuinely is. It's like he's the offers on the table, the contract's available, and he's like, he doesn't want to go. And that's my worry there, that if any player doesn't want to come to a club, you leave the deal that minute. You leave that deal immediately. As soon as Rafinha, that's why I was surprised. I think we chatted about it. I was shocked they went for Rafinha because I knew he only wanted Barca. He only ever wanted Barcelona. The only time you would and should have gone in for Rafinha was once you knew Barcelona were not interested anymore. Once that deal was gone and it wasn't going to happen, then you can go, right, now we have a free run at him. But when you have a player who's only interested in one team, Jules Koundé maybe not so much interested in one team, but perhaps he's looking at that team, Barcelona, and they look tasty. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. We all know that the way they've done it and some of the practices that they've been running and stuff like that is not exactly filled us with the moral compass that we would want to use. But they've got a team there, and they looked very good for the money when they played against Real Madrid the other night. They looked really tasty, and Rafinha got a fantastic goal. So the lad's going to prove me wrong. I didn't think he was worth 60 million. He's going to bang 30 this season.
You know me. I was running that hype train. So
I'm still waiting. That's his one goal. He ain't going to score no more.
He looks good. He's also going to look a lot better in Europe and in La Liga. I think the intensity,
the better league for him.
He's been playing at the intensity he's been playing at, his attributes. He's very physical. He's quick, and he does have he's a good inside forward. I think that he'll bag a lot of goals, especially if he plays a lot. I think La Liga is a good league for him.
It's a great move for him, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, he's going to be happy, and he's going to bust a gut there, isn't he? You know what I mean? So yeah. So Chelsea. Listen, Chelsea fans, one interested to your point. I'd be concerned if it was me. If I was you, I'd be concerned. And you'll go, but Dan, you got beat by United 4-0. The difference is that was our first game of pre-season in which we played 32 different footballers, of which
there was also a system. Like, you could see it was still a Liverpool team. You could just see it was a rusty Liverpool team. You guys were still pressing in the way that we expect a club team to press. This Chelsea team is unrecognizable from the one that was going deep into cups, winning the Champions League. It looks nothing like it. It still has the same issues in attack. Chelsea hasn't been good in attack for 2 years. Since Tuchel came in, they haven't been good in attack. And even during Sarri's time, they weren't amazing, but Hazard dug them out of a few holes. You have the same weaknesses, but now you look like you have no idea what you're doing. Your defense can barely make it to your midfield. Your midfield certainly can't make it to your attack. And then once it gets to your attack, everything breaks down anyways. So, it's not at all United looks like they have a new system under Ten Hag. They look like they're doing something, even if it doesn't always come off. It looks like we have a shape. Liverpool look like they're doing, even when you're playing your 20th through 31st choice players, your reserves, they look like they know what they're doing. They look like a Liverpool team. Tottenham are doing Tottenham things. I watched a couple of their games. They look decent, but they look like a Conte side. Arsenal obviously are doing very well. And then City, that's the one thing I can take away from the Bayern game that we'll talk about later. They dominate. They do City things. They dominate possession, create chances. It's City.
City are going to be City next season. I don't think we could expect anything different from them.
Chelsea is the only team in that big six who looks like they have no idea what they're doing. So
yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. So listen, Chelsea fans, I think there's a little bit of cause for concern. Do you know what I mean? We've been calling it for months now. We've been calling it for weeks. We've been saying that we think there's going to be a bit of a storm brewing over at Stamford Bridge. So we'll wait and see how that kind of comes along, because you're not bringing enough players in, and it doesn't seem to be the right kind of players that they want. So Liverpool, we'll go on to my favourite subject. Liverpool, Darwin Nunez, 4 goals. What a man. Listen, I'm not going to be that fan and sit there and make this big song and dance because it is only pre-season. It is. But what matters, and there's a couple of things why it matters. So for Darwin Nunez, this kid has just turned 23 years of age. He may look like he's, whatever. He looks older than his days and all the rest of it, but he's still only a kid. And you could see that the pressure, in a way, probably was getting him to a little bit. He put on a little post on Twitter saying, resiliencia, his resilience, that he's putting out there. He hears what's going on. He hears what the pressure is. And ultimately Liverpool are having to get an arm around him. He's got that South American fight in him. He's going to bite back. He ain't going to take it. And here he is, 45 minutes of football. But we'll come on to we'll just do him now, and then we'll talk about the game. What was important was Mo Salah gave him that penalty, that team ethic that came in and said, "Yeah, get yourself on the score sheet." He scored that penalty, and that was it. That was like the shell moment where it was like, "There you go, that's off your neck now. Take that off your shoulders. You've scored the goal now. Now relax." And didn't he half relax? Because he looked very, very good. And there's 2 goals that, all the other 3 goals, I was impressed by all of them for different reasons. The first one, I was impressed because it's exactly why Liverpool bought Darwin Nunez. To run that channel, take a touch, and slot it bottom corner like a typical number 9. And that's something Liverpool doesn't have, and it hasn't had, since Torres, perhaps, to that extent.
Suarez, really.
Suarez.
Yeah.
But Suarez was that, he was everything there, wasn't he? He
was all over the place. Yeah, he
could do anything. He played wherever he wanted. He was like a kid at school. But, he scored that goal, took that first touch, took a second touch, and then slotted it bottom corner. Exactly what we all bought him for. So impressed by that goal. Really strong, making all the right moves is what was important. He was where he was, and the players were getting onto his wavelength and going, right, I see, when we've got the ball, he's going to do this. This is where he'll want it. And that's where it'll start to click. The third one was something which I was even more impressed at, as it sounds, is that he made this availability in the 6-yard box to give him space to be where he was and put his foot on it and put a poacher's goal in. Liverpool don't have a poacher.
That is such a tiny spider. See ya. That is something that I have not seen at Liverpool. You get the occasional little movement in the box with Jota. Jota has very good movement, but the way he did it was very. This is not a direct correlation, but very Van Nistelrooy-esque. That is a number 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the movement is there, they drop off a yard. The defenders don't, all of a sudden I lost my man. And then they push up just a second and he's straight in, ball across the box. Yeah, right there.
And there it is. And I was really impressed with that because that was a new string to Liverpool's attack that we didn't have before. Someone who is that predator in the 6-yard box, someone who can, no matter how little space he should have, found a lot of space for such a big guy. And, I was very impressed with that one. Now, the fourth one, to be fair, the keeper should have done a lot better.
Yeah.
He should. But what was impressive, if we look back at it, Nunez hits it first time and maybe just catches that goalkeeper off guard. Hang on, he's hit it straight away. And he wasn't quite set, and that was the reason that the mistake has occurred, because ultimately Nunez looked like he was being clever, but that came with confidence. If he hadn't already scored those other 3 goals, or even 2 goals, or even the first goal, perhaps he doesn't take that shot on. Doesn't take that kind of, I'm going to have a go. And he asked the question, and he got an answer, and we got a 4th goal. The kid should be really, really proud of himself. But what needs to happen, and I know exactly what's going to happen, is that everyone said, you can calm down now. Relax. Just chill.
He who should not be named, but I will name him, Mason Greenwood, used to do that. And that's the reason why he was scoring so many goals from outside the box, where it looked like he basically just rolled it in to one of the 2 corners. It was placement, but a lot of it was actually hitting it early, hitting it a second earlier than the goalkeeper thought, because then they don't have time to plan, to set themselves and get down. I think you're going to see a lot of that with Nunez. I'll be honest. He does look like a natural goal scorer. This isn't necessarily a time where I'll criticize him, but he still has a couple things, his touch and all that. But he's raw, so give him time. His ability to finish looks like it's there. So
yeah, and that was something that we were most so impressed with on our transfer show when we talked about Nunez. I promise we'll come off from everybody. Was he has talents you can't teach. Yeah. He has those natural abilities that you just can't teach. You can't teach natural ability to finish. You just can't do it. You can make it better, but if you're already somewhere which is far in advance above many other players already, you can make it better. You can get the data analysts in and start speaking to them about this is where you should be taking your shots. You'll score more shots from even this distance. Don't waste shots from this distance because you only score 10% of them. You only score 6% of them from here. But if you get the ball here, shoot, because your ability shows. And if you get that belief, when someone's sitting there with a laptop and they've said to you, listen, you shoot here, you'll start believing it. You can believe it. You'll go, well, I know that this is where I'm best at. And I'm so impressed with him. I was very pleased. I couldn't have been happier for him because it just takes that sort of little sideshow that was going on where it was like, oh, Liverpool have spent 100 million euro. Well, it turned into pounds, but it's still not. It's 100 million euros. And it was like, come on, boys, get off it. He's had 60 minutes of football in pre-season and everyone's ready to write the guy off. And that was in the Liverpool fan base, never mind other fan bases. People need to get their heads together. Just relax. If Liverpool have bought him, they know what they're doing. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I agree with Liverpool. When Liverpool buys someone, they do. But that is just fan bases for you. That's a concerning thing. that is not very characteristic of the Liverpool fan base to target a player, no matter how expensive. It's always they're one of our own. You never walk alone. Also,
we know why though, Jesse, don't we? We know why.
Tell me. I probably do, but tell me.
We know why. Because Liverpool's success has been so long, we're now picking up all these fans who are like only there for the good times. They're only here for the good roles. They weren't here when Hicks and Gillette were running the club into administration. They weren't here when Ricky Lambert and Mario Balotelli was up front with Fabio Guarini, and we'd gone 6 games without any of them scoring a goal. These fans have now come in here now and sit there going, well, we need to do this. It's becoming selfish. It's becoming almost brat-like. Oh, we need to sign a midfielder. We need to do this. You know what? Shut up. No, we don't. We need to buy the right players. That's the reason we are where we are, is because of what the decisions have been made by FSG, by the coaching staff, by the scouting department, by Jurgen Klopp, by his team. Yeah, he doesn't work on his own. It's his full team. They've made the decisions to make us a club that went for a quad last season and missed out by 180 minutes of football. It went that close. Don't question these people because you've got no right. They're not doing anything wrong. They've bought a player. They've made a big situation. Oh, thanks very much. We'll just come into your comment in a second, Philip. Thank you for that. We brought this player. He is young, 22, just turned 23, doesn't speak a word of English, come to a new country. Just give him time. Simple as that. Phil, you have to put Phil's comments on. Thank you very much for popping in. Put a comment, mate. We appreciate it.
I'm on the other screen. There we go.
Yeah, I'll put it on. No problem at all. Oh, is it going to pop up? There it is. Okay. So Phil's put a comment in. Even when Nunez wasn't scoring pre-season, he was getting into useful positions. So I knew it was just a matter of time. How many Premier League goals are you expecting Nunez to score in his first season? Me, 14. Phil, great comment. And I saw this as well. If you look through some of our other videos, mate, I had a kind of what were our opinion. I was saying to Jesse, and maybe I was kind of self-soothing myself, but really I was saying, even if it wasn't quite coming off, he was where you wanted him to be. He was making the kind of runs that you'd have liked him to have taken. He was going to the places where you would have wanted him to be. We saw a big improvement when he came into the Crystal Palace game. Couple of shots on target, making the right moves, just didn't quite come off at the right times. So for me, goals I expect him to score this season, I can't disagree with him. Probably between 12 and 15. I'm going to say in that one because he's going to be rotated. He's not, ultimately, if he hits a barnstormer, he's going to be able to play a lot more. But I've said this before on a previous stream, and Jesse's heard this. Because of the 5 substitutes, I'm of a genuine belief that a number of clubs, Liverpool included, will potentially play different systems. at different times in the game. So because they can make a substitution, which can then mean that Liverpool could play, say, a diamond, and then play with Salah on the right, Diaz, Nunez up front, maybe Carvalho in behind, or potentially go back to our 4-3-3. There's going to be more scope to play different systems. So everyone's going to get a good whack at it. But this kid's going to score a fair few goals this season. He just through his own quality and the amount of chances Liverpool create.
Yeah, he's a stat pattern. So I think it really just depends on how much time he actually plays. Yes. So I don't know what Klopp is thinking, but I suspect that he's going to start selecting Nunez, at least for a majority of games, maybe not the biggest games, over someone like Jota in the middle, have Diaz on the left, and then obviously Salah he's droppable, but you wouldn't do that. I mean, he just got the big contract. I expect more. I think 14 is a safe bet. I think he definitely hits 14. I think you'll find games where he scores hat tricks and kind of pads his numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if he got up between 14 and 20, which is
within the Premier League. I think he's going to score goals most certainly. In competitions, Champions League, that's his place. He scored a lot of goals last season in the Champions League, and that seems to be where he would be. So he's going to. I think 20 goals across all competitions is more than possible for him.
I have a lot of faith in him. So, and I'm not. Yeah. I'm the non-Liverpool fan here. So,
well, at the end of the day, this is it. You can identify a quality player at the end of the day, and that's just the way it is, isn't it? So yeah, no, really good. And performance-wise, it's RB Leipzig. It's a pre-season match. Everyone seems to be having a good time over there. Got a game against Salzburg tomorrow, I believe, or it's Wednesday. I think it's tomorrow. Playing Salzburg. Really looking forward to that. Let's load that one up.
Not tomorrow, on Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday they play against Salzburg, so we should be looking forward to seeing that. Then Charity Shield. Another exaggerated friendly against City, and then Liverpool Strasbourg, which I will be going to myself. Going to watch that. I'll probably end up watching the under-18s, to be fair.
Oi. Yeah, you definitely play. Yeah, you're definitely playing the reserves.
Yeah, so he's going to be playing a bit of a reserve team there and whatnot, so that'll be interesting. So, moving on, Manchester United. Jesse, I'll let you take the lead. Your club, what did you make of it, mate?
Yeah, more of the same. I saw some changes I didn't really like, but Ten Hag is still kind of trying to suss out what his best 11 is. I don't think Shaw did enough. I know he got an assist, and it was a good cross, but even then it was a little delayed. He wasn't really doing that well getting up and down the line, but I didn't really like the shot for Malacia. Donny wasn't really in the game. I'm not sure whether that's on him or the system, but I'm not really a Donny stan. I don't think that McTominay would have done any better in that. And who else? I would have liked to see, obviously, Bailly or someone start at right back. And even if you had to move Maguire over to left, I just want to see those players because we play a high line and neither of those players have pace. So I just don't think it's safe in the system that Ten Hag is trying to play. But overall, it is more of the same. We saw the shape. The system was good. The 4-4-2 diamond that Gerrard tried to play didn't really work against Ten Hag's system in that first half. We saw a lot of the ball. It was pretty easy. We didn't create a whole lot of chances, but the chances we did create were pretty high quality, which is reassuring. Then you get into the second half. The what people were saying to me, I mean, this is from everyone in our Discord, people on WhatsApp, people on Twitter. We're acting like it was a battering by Villa in the second half. It wasn't really. They didn't do much with the ball. Obviously, Bailey was an outlet and scored the one goal, which is very well taken. But if you've been watching Bundesliga, you know what that kid's capable of. He didn't really perform for them last season, but I think you'll see more from him this season. Besides that, I mean, it was a lot of just basically just countering on our high line. We weren't able to push up as much because I think Gerrard switched to more of like a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. But overall, I was satisfied with it. Even the second half, like I'm saying, I think people overemphasized how bad United were. We weren't that bad. We just didn't control the game in the way I would have liked. So
no, I didn't think you were bad. I definitely didn't think you were bad. That's certainly something I wouldn't say. That's a far too expressive adjective. Let's say. For me, I mean, I said it to you, didn't I? I mean, this was a bit late in the day for you, the very early hours. So I watched this game. I did say to you at the time that I thought this was going to be a real test. a proper test against Villa, because Villa looked like, well, they were a different animal. They were playing the full team, where Crystal Palace were playing half a team in the UK, half a team in Australia, and whatnot. This was the first time you were playing up against a team who was going to play, first 11, and then, bring them off and bring some other ones in. But they were up and match ready. So it didn't surprise me that Aston Villa were a tough test, and they were. And the positive you can take from this is sometimes you need a setback to learn. And that's what happened. Like, if let's say United had gone out there and won again another 3-1 result, this was only going to happen at some point later on. This situation was only going to occur at a later date. And maybe, thankfully for United fans, it may not land in the Premier League where it actually matters. Ten Hag's been able to learn something here from, a Premier League team who's going to be ready to play Premier League football next season, who we've predicted to finish top half of the table, to be honest. In Aston Villa. So they were a good team. He just exposed a couple of issues, which I think Ten Hag probably was already aware of, but he now has more kind of evidence that it's a problem.
I think he has more reason to go into the locker room. And he mentioned this after he'd done the post-match interviews and all that, and they were going back to the bus. They had a couple people kind of who had press passes, but were more in that fan section and trying to ask him questions. And he basically told them, I mean, this game gave me, and he said this pretty much verbatim, this game gave me a reason to go back into the dressing room and say it with authority that you can't lose focus in the last 2 minutes of a game, and you can't take your foot off the gas just because you feel like you have control over a game. So yeah, it's all well and good being able to go in there after a 4-0 win, a 4-1 win, a 3-1 win, as you say, and say, guys, we need to keep the intensity. We can't lose our heads. We can't stop focusing just because we're just about to cross the line. You actually have to have the players feel it. And there's really no better way to do that than conceding in the last minute during preseason. That's probably the most ideal circumstance to do that. So
it hurts, doesn't it? It's one of those situations that hurts and stuff, and maybe a little bit of a reality check at times. I know that sounds funny to say, but the 4-0 against Liverpool, I mean, it flatters the situation, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And whatever. And then the Melbourne victory game. Well, you'd be expecting to beat Melbourne victory. Let's get it straight. You wouldn't have expected anything less than beating an Australian 18 3-1. You'd be kind of disappointed if it wasn't. Crystal Palace's half team, you'd be expected to beat Crystal Palace anyway, 2 or 3-1 in a game anyway. That will be predictable. Aston Villa, though, this is going to be one of those games next season where you'd be like, right, could be a test here. I think it's going to be a test of Liverpool. Simple as that. I think they're going to be a very tough team to beat next season. And this was a good lesson to learn, I think, for Ten Hag. Most definitely, the Manchester United players who played out there. And also for the fans as well, a bit of a lesson to say, you know what? Don't get too carried away too soon. This ain't over.
The fact that we pretty much controlled their first team. I know that they were playing a formation that didn't really suit them against us, but this is their first team. Plain and simple. This is their first team, absolutely, including new signings and all that. By the way, I just want to go ahead and point out, because this is breaking 10 minutes ago. Interesting. Official Juventus statement now announced Paul Pogba's injury to lateral meniscus. New medical test to follow. He's not traveling with a squad to Dallas. Godspeed, get back to health, but boy, that is not great. Get better soon, Paul. But that's mad. Preseason and all. Yeah. Anyways, no, I just thought that's crazy.
I thought you were going to say they were announcing Roberto Firmino. I was about to cry.
Well, what it was that Juve are trying to find solutions for Artur and Ramsey in order to open talks. Okay, so that doesn't. Yeah, they want Paredes. Maybe is what he's saying. I thought they were going to say we need options for Pogba. But anyways, that's pretty crazy, man. Anyways.
Yeah. No, so as to say, it was not a major surprise to me, like, that this was going to be a tough game, because I thought it would be. I did think it was going to be a tough game, and it was a tough game. It was lessons to be learned, and ultimately this is what pre-season's for, is to learn lessons, is to learn things, to cope with situations, to kind of go, right, all right, this is what we're good at, this is what we need to improve on, and this is what we're bad at. And that's what it's all about. And ultimately, if it comes out in a pre-season game, it doesn't harm anybody. It only helps.
I think having Liverpool obviously not up to pace yet, playing 3 different teams and all their reserves, having Palace and then having Aston Villa, that's a good set of intense fixtures of teams that do work hard, even if it's preseason and they're not all fit. They all have very intense systems. So I think it's a good test. Anyways,
it is. It's a very good test. And as I say, United fans just understand that this is going to be, this is a marathon, not a sprint. One new manager doesn't make Manchester United back to the to the best. It's going to take time, and just be patient. That's all I would say. Just be patient.
100%. We want to move on to this.
Oh yes, Manchester City being Manchester City, doing Manchester City stuff, and 12 minutes, and Mr. Erling Haaland came in there and put himself on the score sheet. Stuck his foot out, and there it was. Easy goal for him, but his movement, that's what it's all about. It's all about that movement.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that. Hey, Josh, boy.
Yo, Josh, what's going on?
I'm always on the wrong screen. How you doing, Josh? No, honestly, like in that first 10 minutes, Bayern had absolutely no answers, and they haven't looked bad in preseason either, Bayern. It's just City being City. I think that they're going to be in a position at the beginning of the season where they're ready to go. And that link up between De Bruyne, not KDB, Grealish, and Haaland looks really dangerous. And that's just one side of the pitch. I mean, we're going to see some pretty incredible football from them. And they have not had that move that they had and where Haaland was positioned. They have not had that ever. I can't remember. Like Aguero wasn't really that player. Dzeko wasn't really that player. Haaland's going to be a different kettle of fish, man. And it's pretty scary. I only really watched that first part because they kept getting delayed for rain.
The rain delays, yeah.
So we switched over to Chelsea Arsenal anyways. But yeah, they're going to be very, very dangerous. And you can see here just from the statistics, I know it's preseason, but pretty even on possession, right? But then 22 shots. I mean, there's a clear domination here, despite it being preseason. So
when City had the ball, they were doing a lot more with it at the end of the day. To be fair, I will say Bayern Munich were unlucky. VAR would have allowed their first goal to have gone in. He was onside. It looked like Cancelo had kept him on with a trailing leg. Maybe would have had to get the lines out, but it wasn't as clear cut from the replay. Bayern could have gone up 1-0 early on, and perhaps that would have maybe had a different feel to it. Josh just sticking a message in. Josh, thanks very much. Routine victory hitting the ground running. City will be hard to stop, very hard. It is possible to catch them. It is possible, and it's always possible because it depends on where Manchester City move their expectations and their targets and stuff. Of course, they'll be back looking to win the Premier League. But again, this season, Champions League is a must-win. Surely it's a must-win for them this season. They've got the team, they've got the players, they've got the manager. They've lost out in the final, they've lost out in the semis, they've lost out in quarters. When are they? They're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. And you're thinking, when's the time going to come? And for me, I'm sitting there thinking, if it's not this season, well, I don't know what. KDB, I know he's still, what is he, 28 now?
No, he's older than that, surely.
29, 30.
31 or something, I think.
Yeah. So KDB's getting close to his prime years now, and it'd be a real shame. As hard as years, Haaland could 31 years of age. He's getting a little bit closer to the edge, but yeah, no, definitely. And Haaland is the statement and possibly the difference. He possibly is, of course. You would say that. Well, you'd hope so. If you were a City fan, that Erling Haaland would be the difference between scoring those goals that you're going to need or not scoring them, shall we say. The only side of Haaland, and this is something which, I don't want this to happen because it's just not right, but I'm just a little bit concerned about his injury record. I am a little bit concerned that he's a player who has not proven that he can go a season without at least a kind of short to medium-term layoff. Or a numerous number of shorter layoffs, which then end up, to being quite a long one in the joint. So that is just a little question mark, which only time will tell.
City fans also have a pretty, they've been pretty insistent that they've lost a lot of their players that they need. And I mean, Sterling, Zinchenko. They thought they were going to lose Ake. Even they were upset about Ake as well. I don't think that I think that City fans are overplaying it a little bit. I think they're more concerned about the fact that they've sold so many youth prospects, but they've also raised around 120 million pounds through those sales.
Well, they need it, don't they? The skin, the poor club.
Much money. Yeah, I don't know where their money comes from. They're definitely skin. But at the end of the day, they're going to get Cucurella. They wouldn't have sold Zinchenko if they weren't going to get him. They'll have Cancelo. By the way, Cancelo played on the right.
Oh, no.
Dan. Well, I don't know, man.
It doesn't work, Jesse. I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
Just telling you. I think he might be playing on the right. But no, seriously, they'll be fine. Holland is a statement. They need that Champions League. Is it possible to catch them in the league? It's possible, but good luck doing it. That's all I'll say. I think they're so stacked at this point that even for Liverpool are there's gonna have to be some voodoo. There's gonna have to be something that just does not go City's way, and things I don't think any of us would wish upon them. We're talking injuries, and I don't.
Let's get real. Let's get it straight, isn't it? We are relying on either City to have an absolute stinker of a season, players not on it, not doing well, just not being good, and something like that, where you just can't put your finger on it. You're just thinking, why are they not playing well? Why are they not scoring? So it's just not clicking right. Or it's going to end up being injuries or something like that. A bit of an injury crisis to a number of players. Where it's like, well, that opens the door for other clubs, or somehow. And this is something which we all want to see as football fans, and we probably haven't seen it for so long. And it's quite simple. We need some more competitiveness at the top of the table. We need to see teams like Arsenal being able to take points off City and Liverpool. We're going to need to see Manchester United see the possibility of taking points off City and Liverpool. We're going to need Tottenham. Tottenham did it last season. They were capable of doing it. They were a team who took points off both clubs. On both occasions, they took 4 points off Liverpool, and did they beat City twice last season? I think they did, didn't they?
Who was that?
Tottenham. They beat City twice, didn't they?
They beat them twice.
Yeah, so they took 6 points technically off them. So we're going to need more of that. We may even need to see some of the mid-table teams like Palace did last season, to take points away from them. We need a little bit more competitiveness, because it just seems to be like it's a constant steamroller, with City and stuff. They just seem to beat everybody. It's almost like a foregone conclusion.
What I will say is that the Premier League last year, a lot of the teams that we were expecting to do much better than they were, your Leicesters, your Villas, now you have Newcastle in there. Obviously, West Ham will still be thereabouts. They haven't really lost anyone. They're getting Scamacca, which I think is an amazing signing. I think at the end of the day, we're going to see at least 8 teams that are very, very competitive, even with Liverpool and City. They might not beat the 2 big dogs on average, but what they will do is give you games. And there are plenty of instances I can remember from last season where if what's his face, the 2 strikers at Villa were on form, they would have been like 3-0 up against Chelsea, or 2-0 up against Liverpool, or even, dare I say, that last game of the season, Villa versus City. If Ollie Watkins, there you go, had been on form, they would have been 3-0 up against City by like the 70th minute before they really started bagging. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting season. Let's just go through these real quick. F City, I previously said he will flop in comparison to his hype. See, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. I think what we're relying on is the dark arts and something really bad happening to Holland. I'll be honest. After what I saw yesterday, and I know it's preseason, but then it's on the chokers to take advantage. I don't necessarily know what you mean. I mean, like, it's going to be on Liverpool to do damage to City, and then a lot of teams to step up and take points off of those 2 teams.
It's true. That's the truth. These 92 teams ending up with 181 points between them is crazy. It's madness, isn't it? 180 points between 2 teams is madness. It's an absolutely insane number as to how far ahead they were. Liverpool's 15 points clear of Chelsea last season. it's a lot of football that's gone, kind of awry there. So we want to see a bit more competitiveness, at the end of the day. I don't mind Liverpool dropping points, but then that same team needs to have that same energy when it comes to City. I want to see a team who comes and plays its heart out against Liverpool, come and play its heart out against Liverpool, against City. Don't just roll over and have your belly tickled by one team. Vice versa, because there's teams that I've seen Liverpool beat Crystal Palace quite comfortably, but then can give Manchester City an absolutely, torrid time. So it does work both ways. I completely, I'm not saying that, he's just saying that they roll over for City. No, there's teams that almost feel like they roll over for Liverpool. But, of course, we want to see teams coming with that same consistent energy every game against every team, you know what I mean? Look to win the match. Don't just go, oh, it's all right, they're in town, we'll just take an L, it's okay, because we can't win this one anyway.
Yeah, and when it comes to like teams in this Big Six being underperforming, I think that the way you start is so important. And at this moment in time, every team looks like they have something about them. I think Josh would agree with me on this. United clearly need 2-3 more signings of quality that can play Ten Hag's system. But after that, we look decent. The other, as I was saying to Dan earlier before you hopped in, Josh, and everyone who's watching, the 5 of the Big Six teams look like they're all cooking something. They all look like they're in line doing something. So this is the question I have for Dan and you as well, Josh. You can either hop on, we can send you a link, or you can just answer in the chat. What are we looking at as far as positions? If you had to go ahead and give a positions, just that Big Six, because right now what I'm seeing is some really positive things from Arsenal, and the only thing that's really changed is Tottenham look like it takes them a little while to get going in games, but once they get going,
I'll give my top 6 as it stands right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think City, Liverpool. I'm a Liverpool fan. I still think we can win the league. My brain says City, my heart says Liverpool, but I don't think there'll be a lot in it. I think it'll be a few points at the most. Then 3rd and 4th. Now, I'm very, very impressed with Arsenal right now, and I'm going to go out on a whim. And I actually think the way that Arsenal are playing right now, and as long as they don't get any injuries, because I think they're a little bit thin, I think when they lose a player, they're going to lose a lot of quality. They have a very good 11, and it's going to depend on how long they can keep that 11 fit for. So for me, I'm going to say I think they could finish 4th. I think Tottenham will finish 3rd. They're not impressing me enough. I think people were getting far too carried away with that, with the way that they were, and going on, oh, Conte this and that, all the rest of it. I'm not. There's nothing jumping out at me that says anything more than this is still Spurs. They're still Spurs. They're good. They're a good team, but I don't think they're going to be doing any title challenges. So I think 3rd. I think Man United will be right there. When I say 4th for Arsenal, I actually think Manchester United is going to be within a couple of points. It could be vice versa when I say Arsenal and Man United. It could be to left. Chelsea, however, as it stands right now, I think have got every chance to finish in 6th.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been watching, like, here we go, Josh. Thanks for putting it in, Josh. City, Liverpool, agree. Tottenham, that's where I'm at right now. Just because they actually have a squad, Conte and all that. They'll be at least, they may not win every game you expect them to win, but they certainly will compete in every game you expect them to compete in.
Yes.
Arsenal will still have a clanger in them, and they don't have the depth that we think. People are saying, well, we got Vieira to back up Odegaard, so now we have depth. It's like, you haven't seen Vieira. I've seen so many players. Wait, what, can Lukonga back up Partey? Is he actually a replacement for Partey? You guys were playing, what's his face? I left back last season. Now you have Zinchenko, very good signing. Looked amazing against Chelsea, by the way. So I think what you have here is fair, Josh. What I will say is that Chelsea needs to get their act together, because if they don't, we will take that 5th spot, or West Ham will. Someone will, because Chelsea looks like they're having an absolute mare right now. And it's when I say mare, I don't usually like to banter too much, but they look shocking. Like it's bad. Their preparations are not going well enough. So
not at all.
I'd probably have the same as Josh, except for as of now, United in front of Chelsea. That's how bad I think they look.
Well, we're at the same point then. I have worries for Chelsea. I actually had Chelsea as finishing 4th, but from what I'm seeing teams that are playing much better than Chelsea right now and seem to be in a much better position than they are. So Yeah, Chelsea. That's where I think you are. And I'd be a little bit worried. Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried if I was a Chelsea fan right now, just because there's so many teams doing good business. City is just City. Liverpool is just going to be Liverpool again next season. There's not going to be any shocks there from them too, I'm afraid. Tottenham probably going to be like they were last season, probably a little bit better because they're going to have an extra 10 games with Conte as opposed to Nuno, and you maybe expect them to get maybe a couple more points there, but they're going to be capable of dropping a clanger like they'll always do. They will. Same as Arsenal. Arsenal's got a great team in front of them. They've got a young team. My thing about Arsenal is how they'll cope with pressure. That's the biggest one. When the going's getting tough and the expectation starts to rise, I'll be interested to see how these guys are able to kind of take that on their shoulders and live with it.
Yeah, this is why I was saying at the beginning when we went over Arsenal and Chelsea, I think that bringing in the players they're bringing in is very good. They still need a right winger. I think they still need a right back. Potentially, that's what I heard. Suarez and Tomiyasu doesn't inspire me with confidence, so they probably do need a right back, but they definitely need a right winger to compete with Saka. Maybe a left winger, just in case. ESR is not going to get a lot of minutes this season, and he is injury prone. Plus, I like him a little bit deeper. Arsenal fans might disagree with me, though, on that. Besides that, they got their left back. They'll still have, what's-his-face, Tierney, and then obviously Zinchenko. I think Zinchenko will take that position pretty much immediately. He's so much better. He's so much better than Tierney. It's not even
He
fun.
has to. I mean, that's the truth. If you brought in Zinchenko, he ain't going to come to this club to just sit on the bench. He's done that at Man City. He's come here to be the number one man at the end of the day, and that would be an absolute expectation. So, yeah, get Zinchenko in your FPL teams if you're looking for somebody, because he's going to play every game this season. He's going to play a lot of football.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be super attacking, but they could prove me wrong with that. What do we have here with Josh? My logic is that everyone except for Chelsea is strengthened in both depth and first team, so a fall off is inevitable. Pool and City will remain clear. This is exactly what it is, Josh. A lot of people, a lot of Tottenham fans especially, starting to get a little cocky about Spurs. Yeah. I don't think they realize the levels that we're witnessing with Liverpool and City. Tottenham, like, they think, oh, we're only this amount of games off. The way you should think about it is, no, we need to win 73% of our games. I don't think Conte even has that record, and he certainly doesn't have it with that Tottenham team. That Tottenham team has a very good front line. They're not as good as people think they are, even with their additions. You've basically got to win. You've got to have a better win record than Pep, Sir Alex, everyone. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous what you have to do to win this league at this point. Like,
exactly, and that's the thing. There's no difference between, unfortunately, as you said, Liverpool finished second last season. There's no difference between finishing second and fourth. Ultimately, you only get the same prize, don't you? Champions League football next season, and that's kind of the way it is. So, I think it's a mile off. I think a lot of people are getting very carried away with the way that Tottenham are. I still think that the gulf between Liverpool and City and the rest of the league as it is right now is it's huge, and it might well be reduced this season. But if it is reduced, it's more likely going to come at the expense of other teams rather than Liverpool and City. If that makes sense, like they'll be Tottenham will win more games that you'd expect them to win. So they'll beat Brentford next season where they only drew. They'll beat Brighton where they only drew. They'll win games potentially where actually they should have won them last season anyway. So that's where I think they'll get more points. But I don't think it's going to be a case of Liverpool or City will drop off at all.
No, I agree. And I think that one of the main differences when you're actually looking at City, Liverpool, and Tottenham, one of those teams is effective. The other two teams are effective and dominate games. Tottenham has not shown us that they can dominate 38 games this season yet. -2 or maybe against your biggest rivals, but yeah.
No, that's it, exactly. But yeah, well, brilliant. Well, obviously, we've had a really good stream. I've really enjoyed it. We've been able to have a little discussion, talk about what's going on with the pre-season for the Premier League. With only a week away from the football kind of kicking right back off again next Friday. Really looking forward to it. First game of the season. Going to be a really, really good match. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. So we'll be watching that one most definitely. So everyone, thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you, really appreciate it. If you can stick a like on for us, but hit the subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. We're kind of on our way, trying to get to 500, trying to build a community together, and we'll always, obviously work together to speak to you. We'll always have your comments in. Everyone's commented. We really, really appreciate it. And listen, we've been talking football. We will catch you on Wednesday. We'll have another show, and we will speak to you all later. Thanks very much, guys. See you soon. Bye bye.
Ciao.
See ya.